Okay, fellas, I just wanted to do a quick update on the B44.2, page 5 and 6, on the pinion gear. We did some shimming in part 2. I'm revising that to part 2, making it a 2-part, because I want part 1 to be the most important part, in case you've never built one of these before. We did some shimming in part 2. But these shims, that's a .21, and this is a .2, or I'm sorry, .20 we'll call it. Kind of want to move these around a little bit just to make sure. But I want the thinnest one to go on the input shaft first. It's important to try to get the thinnest one to the back, away from the pinion gear. You put your bearings on. Put your thickest one on last. And you're going to put your drive pin in there. Turn this around. Drive pin in there like that. You're going to put your pinion gear on. The reason why I'm doing this because I want it to be, it's important that you guys know that you don't have to do any extra shimming. You can just build this by the manual with the provided shims. Just try to remember to get your thickest shim on the pinion gear side. Right here is where you want your thickest shim, if you got some calipers to gauge it, because what you're wanting to do is just try to get that pinion gear as far away from this flange right here as you can. Because once you put the top on, it's going to rub right on there. And it's the pinion gear that's doing the rubbing. As you can see right here, as it turns, you're going to get some rubbing on from the pinion gear. You're not going to get any rubbing on this side, but you will get some rubbing on this side, which means the pinion gear is a little out of round. I just think it's important that you guys know you can do this with the provided shims. It's not a big deal. If it rubs, don't sweat it. Don't even worry about it. Just go ahead and put it together and run it in. It's going to break in just fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You're going to get a little bit of play in there, but that's fine too. I just want to make sure you all know that just because we're going to do a little shimming to get it further away from that little flange in there where the bearing rides, and the back side of that pinion gear rubs a little bit, that you don't have to worry about it. You can just take this thing and put it in there, box stock, and it'll be just fine. You won't have no problems with it. Some are a little different than others, so it's going to be tough to get a consistent shim there. And if you don't have any shims, well, you don't have to worry about it. Just throw it together and you'll be fine. Box stock. So just wanted to make sure you guys knew that, because I think I neglected to point that out in part 2. So I went ahead and made this part, we're going to call it part 1, just so that it's emphasized that your box stock shims will work. Just got to remember to put the thinnest of the two shims to the bowl side of your input shaft, and the thickest side to the pinion side. That way it'll ensure that you get your pinion gear far enough away, as far enough away as possible. Let's put it that way. So, at any rate, we'll catch up with you fellas later. Be sure and catch part 2. We'll do a little shimming on this here, and your gear case will be done. Talk to you later.